You know that feeling when you taste something and you're not eating food anymore. You're eating a memory? Your grandmother's hands, a sundae that smelled like cinnamon and rain, something no recipe card can fully hold. Now imagine it's the year 2088. Machines grow your food, build your home, and generate all the energy you'll ever need. Nobody pays rent. Nobody punches a clock. The old work-earn-spend cycle, what people used to call the hamster wheel, broke decades ago. Because when robots and AI and fusion energy can produce almost anything for almost nothing, charging for the basics became as absurd as charging for GPS. So here's a story from that world. A bullet train crosses the Sahara, 600 miles of silence and sand, powered by fusion reactors that turn the desert from wasteland into energy grid. On board is a woman named Connie, 71 years old, raising her twin grandchildren alone since her daughter passed. Connie finished her civic service at 24, a few years learning how the world's infrastructure actually works, serving as a human check on the algorithms that run it. After that, her basics were covered for life. Housing, food, healthcare, education, all guaranteed, like tap water. Always on, no bill. She could have done anything. She chose to cook. 3 days ago, workers were renovating a community kitchen in Algiers, pulling apart a 3D printed wall, and they found a note tucked inside the structure, handwritten, dated 2041. It said, "I hid this recipe here because the algorithm said nobody would ever search for it, but someone will. Someone always does." The recipe was for jollof rice. Not any jollof rice, a specific version, with a note in the margin that said, "The trick is burning the bottom on purpose." The algorithm that manages Connie's community kitchen already has 14,000 jollof rice variations. It can optimize for nutrition, allergen profiles, regional taste preferences. It can produce a perfect plate in 4 minutes, but it had never once suggested burning the bottom on purpose. See, in Connie's world, 90% of life is handled. The foundation provides a comfortable existence, not luxury, but freedom from survival pressure. The remaining 10%, that's where people push themselves because they want to, not because they have to. Connie could sit back. The system would feed her grandchildren flawlessly forever. But Connie doesn't want flawless. She wants the burned bottom. Her fear, and she'd never say this out loud, is that the algorithm knows her grandchildren better than she does. It tracks what they eat, what they like, when they're hungry before they know it themselves. It's never wrong, and that terrifies her. Because if a machine can feed them perfectly, what exactly is she for? The key around her neck belonged to her mother's kitchen in Lagos. The kitchen doesn't exist anymore, but the key opens something the algorithm can't. A memory of her mother's hands moving without a recipe, adjusting by feel, tasting and frowning and tasting again. That wasn't labor, but it wasn't leisure either. It was something in between that the old world never had a word for. So Connie is riding this train to open a kitchen in a new commons on the edge of the Sahara. Not because anyone asked her to. Not because the community needs food. The foundation handles that. She's going because that hidden recipe was a message from someone who understood. The algorithm can feed you, but it can't feed you the way your grandmother did. And someone has to teach the difference. She'll teach the twins to burn the bottom of the rice. She'll teach them that the stain on the card is turmeric from their great-grandmother's fingers. She'll teach them that when you cook for someone, you're not performing a task. You're saying something the algorithm doesn't have vocabulary for. Who decides what counts as work? The old world said, if it pays, it's work. If it doesn't, it's a hobby. Connie's world dropped that distinction when money disappeared. But the question didn't go away. It just got more honest. Maybe work was never about the paycheck. Maybe it was always about the burned bottom of the rice, the thing you do with your whole self for someone you love that no machine would ever think to do. That's a world worth building. One where survival is solved. And the real question becomes, what will you do with your hands when they're finally free? If Connie's world sounds impossible, the math says otherwise. The AI at Unscarcity.ai has read the whole book. Ask it anything. Or find the story yourself, in print or audiobook, at Unscarcity.ai.